Does it even matter?
Well, firstly, as I understand it, I think Eddie Izzard identifies as gender fluid.
Well, apparently since 2020, he prefers... She prefers she, her pronouns.
That doesn't necessarily make her identify as a woman.
Does it mean that she should be able to stand on a women-only shortlist?
I would say that that has to be a conversation about kind of what is it that you're trying to achieve with a shortlist that isn't open to all applicants. And I'm assuming this is for a kind of a constituency.
Yes, exactly.
So the kind of question is, well, what is it that you're trying to do? You're trying to address gender balance, diversity, inclusivity, because at that point we need to have a broader conversation about, if you say women only, are you actually also excluding other people who are minoritised in our political system, which is still predominantly white, middle-aged men? So I think the question of addressing inequality is absolutely central. I think getting sidelined into a conversation about whether Eddie Izzard is or isn't a woman, whether they should be on a women-only ticket or not, I think we're sort of getting a bit distracted from the conversation that we should all be around the table having, which is
politics representative?
Is politics representative?
And
how much better would it be if everybody felt welcome to be a part of that? And I think the answer is much, much better off, because then we wouldn't be having the conversation that three of us have just had about, is it true that this that this government is out of touch with the regular people on the street?
It is such a political hot potato, though, Daniel.
It shouldn't be.
But it has become, though, hasn't it?
What Mariana said, I think, is completely... In fact, I think she knows she's driving away from the main point. The main point is the vast majority of people believe that they are men or they're women. And that's true not just of heterosexual people, but of gay people and lesbians. They believe they're men or they're women. And a very tiny number of people is trying to alter things so that to say that you're a man or a woman, to believe that you're a man or a woman, becomes an option rather than a fact. And there's a great deal of resentment, and especially amongst women, fear about what the consequences of that are. And not simply amongst women in prison or women in hospital or women using changing facilities, but actually amongst women in society more generally. What does it mean that I can't assert as a fact that I am a woman? It is an option, it is a fluidity, because to most people it isn't. It's inherent in your identity. And we're not to be allowed to say, I'm not to be allowed to say that Eddie Izzard is a man. I'm not allowed to be. I'm not allowed to say that. That as a fact, he's a man. I wouldn't be allowed to say that, and I would be criticised for saying that, and possibly even arrested or warned by Sussex police. So we're in that situation where that is not a permissible thing for me to say. So I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get into any trouble.
Well, it's also, it would be wrong.
Well, and I leave the viewers to take their view.
But you've inherently contradicted yourself.
Have I?
Because what you're saying is that you have this inherent sense that you're a man. I have an inherent sense that I'm a woman.
No, I have an inherent sense that it is factually the case
that there is a biological difference to who...
now we can't conflate gender and sex.
Yeah, we can.
No, we can't.
Because one exists and the other doesn't.
I don't know what you mean by it doesn't exist.
Gender is, when I was young, at school, gender was a quality of nouns. People didn't have gender. You filled forms in, it said sex, MF. The word gender only applied in the world of grammar. The whole concept of gender as applied to people has been invented over the last 30 years, and it's an ideology. And we don't have to accept that ideology.
It's become...
Last word. Go on, Marianne.
It's become something that more people are aware of.
Yeah, but how many?
If you spoke to sociologists and anthropologists and social scientists...
Of which you are one.
Of which I am one, but I wasn't around when you were a child.
No.
But those people would have spoken in terms of sex and gender, because one is a biological concept and one is...
No, they wouldn't. You find a copy of the Oxford English Dictionary.
A social, structural and cultural concept.
You look up what the Oxford English Dictionary said in the 1960s.
And we could do a whole hour on this.